before I start this video, I recorded kind of a video on that side, but when I was into it, there was some stuff that didn't exactly work out. You can get the whole brake assembly swaps over and everything's fine. The two problems you're going to have with it if you try to get the KJ stuff, the Liberty stuff, is the brake lines. The brake line, there's only one soft line that I found on the 06, which is supposed to apparently have two soft lines. This one only had one. The earlier models, it's going to be all built into one, and the soft lines are built into the axle, so you can't pull those. So to be honest, pull the brakes off, pull the whole brake assembly off, get the Grand Cherokee brake lines. They're shorter and easier to deal with, and I'll show you on my green Jeep on how, you know, small of a package it is, other than that one, which is too long. And also the wheel studs for the later model Liberty anyway, the KJs, don't press into these earlier model Cherokee hubs. They're too big. They won't slide into these hubs. So you're going to need to get the Grand Cherokee studs and the Grand Cherokee brake lines to make this just go easier. So yeah, on to the video. Alright, even though I kind of already did a video on the other side, I'm going to go ahead and record each part again, and I'll select which ones I like better on which videos I will upload, on which ones I will put in the video. So I'm basically redoing this. This is for the passenger side. I haven't put these on yet because I wanted to wait. What I got from the junkyard was the backing plate along with the studs that mount it to the axle, because you need those. These are longer. I got the caliper with the brakes. This is actually a ZJ brake line that I snagged from a ZJ while I was there, but I got two new brake lines, so I'm not going to use that. The rotor. I got the oil seals because I didn't have those last time. I might as well put them in, but pull the axle shafts out. Got wheel studs. If you notice, these wheel studs are actually the front wheel studs for a Cherokee, or a Dana 30 anyway. These, from what I was reading, should fit, and I found these cheaper than what I found. I found them cheaper than what I found the ZJ rear studs for. Also, from Rock Auto, I just bought the cheapest economy brake lines from them as I could. I think they were like $7 a piece. Yeah, but that's everything you need. You need the backing plate with the mount. You need the rotor. You need the caliper. You know, oh, and also got the brake line. You don't have to get the brake line. You can modify your stock brake line, and I'll show you how I modified it on my green Jeep. But I went ahead and got this one just because it was all in one package and it's cheap. So yeah, something else I also had that will make the job a little easier, at least for the seals. And I just got a seal driver and a bearing driver. I got these mainly because I don't have a lot of stuff at the house that I can press in and hammer in big bearings and seals with. But yeah, go ahead and get on to the video. Alright, the diff cover bolts are 1/2 inch or 13, whichever you prefer. 1/2 inch fits better. One thing to note, this rear end's already been drained. At least if there's anything left in it, it's not much. You want to put a catch pan under this. Alrighty. Now, I already took my drums off. So, right here, there is, well, I say it's 8mm, but a 5/16, it's a 5/16, so that fits a lot better than an 8. These things are bad about stripping out. Alright, you didn't see that, I went out of frame. If your axle's still in the vehicle, put the Ebrake on, or put it in park. If it's not, I used a pry bar to pry between the gears just to hold it, to break it loose. Also, just get it loose enough with a 6-point. Do not use a 12-point. Again, these are easy to either round off or break off. And then just run it the rest of the way out with a wrench. Ratcheting a wrench would be nice. I got some. I'm just too lazy to get it. I don't have them over here with me right now. looks like. I'm pretty sure you can buy these online. I know you can buy the cross pins if these break. The only thing is, if they break and you haven't taken it out all the way, you're going to have a hell of a time getting it out. Now, be careful spinning it because, well, you don't have to be careful just yet. Try to get this at an angle where you can push it out. Now, from here, pull the crosspin out. Now from here, be careful how you spin the diff because these gears are loose. The up and bottom, the upper and lower spider gears are loose. If you start spinning an actual shaft, you can twist these right out. They're not that hard to put back in, but you know, just to not fool with it. Now, I already have the drums off. All you need to do, I'm just going to take the actual shaft, push it in. Push it in. Right here, there's a C-clip. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it. You might see it on that one. There's a C-clip. When you push it in, that's going to fall out. I'm going to push the passenger side axle shaft in. Fell out. If you don't get lucky, just get in there with a magnet. Don't lose this because you're going to need that unless you do a C-clip delete, which I may do at some point, but I plan on welding this. This is just going in a trail Jeep. I'm welding the spider gears so I can have a Lincoln locker. Now, once you do that, pull the actual shaft out. It's going to be a good idea to replace the seals on the end of it. It's going to be a good idea to replace that seal. You might want to look into replacing that bearing also, depending on the mileage of the axle. But go ahead and replace the seal anyway. I did on my green Jeep because I didn't want anything to leak. Again, I'm just going to repeat this on the other side, pull both axle shafts out. And then I'll bring you probably on that side and show you how to just pull the drums off and then put everything on. Next thing I'm going to show you, I've actually already broke it loose. I recorded a bit and I didn't like the way it went. This back here, you need to take this off the wheel cylinder. It's a 3/8. At least this one is. It doesn't fit on all the flats, so maybe it's actually an 8, but the 3/8 fits better. Try to use a line wrench if you can. You can go to the parts store, get a 3-pack of a line wrench for cheap. Both metric or standard. In this case, metric's probably better, but this case I'm using a 3/8, so standard might be better. To try to break this loose, I got some line wrenches, I just can't find them. I can't find all of them. There's brake line off. Now, let's go to the front, or the side. Alright, now, we're going to start taking the brakes apart. Now, if you don't want your e-brake or you don't want to save it, you just cut the hard line or take the hard line out, whatever. Easy to take this off, take these 4 bolts off and pull it off, you're done. Now, if you want to save your e-brake lines, you didn't get new ones. You need to disassemble your part of your parking brakes, or part of your brakes, drum brakes. If you got a mini bolt cutter or whatever, cut all the springs, let everything fall. I don't know if this is going to cut it or not. It will. Watch your eyes. I'm not going to be gentle about this because I'm not trying to save anything. Really, all you need to do is take these little clips out, push down. There's a pin that goes to the back side. Actually, it might be easier to show you this one. There's a pin that goes to the back side. It's got a flat right here. You just push this down, twist it, and it pops off. Same with the other side. This is the main side that you need. The side that you see this cable coming up to. Now this is what we're after right here. This parking brake shoe right here. Pull it out. Now, to get this to go through, 1/2 inch or a 13 millimeter, one of the two usually fits. But this is a 13. It actually fits pretty good. This brake line's messed up, so this probably isn't going to be a good representation. And then you can usually push these out. Yeah, it's not cooperating with me today. Sometimes you can use a wrench. Otherwise, take a flathead screwdriver, push in all these tabs. There is 3 tabs, one on the back side, one right here, one on the front side. Take them, push them in individually. It's a bit of a pisser to get out. It's a bit of a pain. So use a 14 if you can get it on there. Now they are, again, you're going to have to replace these. These usually aren't long enough. Now, to get this off, it just slips right off. And there it is. Again, you don't have to fully disassemble this. This is just if you want to save the Ebrake cable. If you got new Ebrake cables, don't worry about it. Cut the Ebrake cable from the back side. Don't disassemble this thing. Pull these 4 bolts off and it comes straight off. It's so much easier. Well, it's quicker. Now, this axle has seen better days. I say that's had a wheel cylinder leaking in there for a pretty good while and rusted everything out. I'm going to go see if I can find a brush. I'm going to brush all this down. It's actually pitted right there. Nice. Now what you saw me do is take these out because you don't need them. You're going to have to use new ones. Either use the ones that came off the vehicle or just get bolts. I don't know the size off the top of my head. I'll put it at the bottom of the screen on what size bolts. Grade 8 bolts that you need. On the grade 8 bolts, you're going to have to file one of the edges down. So it's better if you can get the Grand Cherokee or the ZJ ones of these. If you go to the junkyard, get them. But put something on the end of the threads because you'll mess up the threads if you just hit them out like I did. Alrighty, well, cleaned it up best I felt like it. You could get in here and polish it as much as you need to. Main thing though is this mating surface right here. That's what needs to be cleaned. I just wanted to get some of the extra junk out of there. Alright, so apparently all of my flatheads are hiding from me. So I got a seal scraper. What you want to do is try to knock in between the seal, crush it down, and pull it out. And there it goes. That's going to be a lot easier if you actually have it in the axle, or actually have the axle in the vehicle. Try not to mark this edge too much, but there is usually a sealant around the seal. Alright, well, camera died. Hopefully it saved that. But basically, beat around the outside. It would have been better if I found a flathead. Beat around the outside, then take your flathead, or might catch a pry bar. Once you get a lot of it off, go around and pop it. It's a lot easier when it's in the vehicle because the axle wants to move around here. But fix put the seal in. Now you can do this a couple ways. You can just put it on and hammer it in. You can either take a hammer and slowly drive it in around the outside. Go different and go around. I got a seal driver. If you use a hammer, you want to make sure you pack this inside where the spring is with grease. Otherwise, the spring could fly out. But, yeah. Spring shouldn't fly out. Maybe I need another washer. Yeah, this tool isn't the best. But, we're going to put another washer on that. This should be in here, keep the spring from coming out. Alright, this seal on this axle has been replaced before. I think this bearing's been replaced before too. Bearing still feels fine and new, but there's a pretty good gouge right here, and there's a gouge down in here from where the previous guy was doing what I was doing, but wasn't staying around the outside, was hammering it inside, and he messed up some of the surface. But it doesn't matter too much, because this seals usually have some type of sealant around the outside. Just hope it goes in good past that rough spot right there. That's the easiest seal I have ever put in. Seal driver for the win. Now you can double check, make sure your spring hasn't come out. The spring comes out, you can usually tell. It's pretty difficult to get it back in there though. So hopefully it stayed in. I don't see mine. But yeah. Again, that was the easiest seal I've ever put in. Alrighty. Now, once you get that done, you can take those studs and you can put all the studs in, but don't put all the studs in, and then you can take the nut that it came with and run them almost all the way through. And then once you put the backing plate on, run them the rest of the way through till they're flat. You go ahead and do that. Alright, to get these on, there's a flat spot. Here's the new one. Like I said, there's an end on this so you can hit it and not too terribly mess up the threads unless you really bow it out. But you want it where this flat part faces the axle tube. So the hole faces the axle tube. But you can use a 13. There's a flat spot on these studs, and the 13 fits around the flat spot and the round spot. Just hold that and run it down. And you can run it almost all the way down. You'll have to run it the rest of the way down with the backing plate on. Alright, now when you put the backing plate on, the brakes face towards the back. So the brake bracket faces towards the back. The Ebrake cable is at the top and facing towards the front. Also, you have to remove the ABS because there's not a cutout on their backing plate mount. There's two grooves that the wire can go through. This one there's not. Should be a 10 millimeters. Now the backing plate can go on. Now tighten them down and watch the back, and when they're flat, stop. Well, I did put Loctite on those too. There was some leftover Loctite from the factory. Before we put the caliper on, we got to put the axle shaft back in. So, all your brake stuff is on. If your brake stuff's not on, there's other videos to show you how you rebuild the e-brake setup and how you actually put disc brakes on. I'm not going to go through that. This is just the main premise of doing the swap. These are easy. Like I said, there's a lot of videos you can watch. But change these studs out. Easiest thing to do, knock them out with a hammer, and to put them in, you don't have to hammer on the backside. You can actually take, and I'll show you, take some washers or an axle nut, stick it on there, take a lug nut that you don't care about, run it down, and it pulls it through. So I'm going to go ahead and hammer these out. I have the other video on hammering these out, so I'll just throw that in there, and then when I put these in, I'll show you. These fit a lot better. These actually go past this collar right here. After the threads, I don't know if the light is good on any of this. There's a collar right here. It's after the threads. And on the Liberty, the KJs, they wouldn't even go past that collar. These go all the way up to the splines, which is what you want. So, slide it in. I need to go get the washers. Actually, they're down here. Stack some washers on it. Take a lug nut you don't care about. There it goes, it's flat at the bottom. There it is. Stick it out. Now I'm going to keep on going. That's why you want to use a washer you don't care about, because this washer's, you don't want to use this on a wheel. Now if that's done, I got all my studs in, got the seal. Good to lube up the seal. Stick the shaft in, try to support it where it's not on the seal. This extra shaft's still clean. So I see my spider gears moved, so there it goes. I already showed you how to stick the C-clips back in on that last video, so I'll just throw that clip in. Back in the center, I got the axle pushed in. Take the C-clip, slip it on, try not to drop it. Slip it in, and when you slip it in, try to hold pressure against it and push it in as you're slipping it in, like I did there. It's not in all the way, or maybe it is in all the way. Nope, there it is. There it goes. The C-clip should be flush, like that. I don't know how much you saw because of my hands, but once you do that, take the center pin. It's actually, slide it up to the center, so to the bottom. Line the gears up. Hopefully they move. Take the center pin. Put the center pin in, and then tighten it down. It doesn't need to be It needs to be tight. Doesn't necessarily need to be gorilla tight, but it does need to be, you know, tight. I'll get a torque spec if I can find one, but good luck fitting a torque wrench in there. Let's put the rotor on. You can go get the rotor turned or get a new one if you feel like it, but not necessary. So, got that in. These still have some grease on it. Again, I'm not going to show you, you know, step-by-step brake job on either the e-brake or the caliper, because those videos are all over the place. But now that the rotor's on, bleeder valve goes towards the top. Always, always, always don't put the bleeder valve on the bottom, because you probably won't have any brakes. So always have the bleed valve to the top. If you don't remember which side is which, bleeder on the top. And put the slide pin bolt on the top, because you can't get this bolt all the way out with your leaf springs in. You can pull it out enough to pull the caliper off and to put the caliper back on, but you have to have the pin at least in the slide pin, because you can't get it all the way out with the leaf spring in place. So these go from the bottom. They slide onto the bottom. Make sure your slide pins are over. Make sure your slide pin is over. And it should sit down like that. Then put the bottom on. And then tighten it down. Well, I did an oopsie. I did a review of putting the caliper on. And I also put the brake line on. Didn't record it. But a refresher. I think on the Grand Cherokee this has a lip at the top of this brake line. And I think that usually faces down. But on this caliper, there's a casting at the bottom of it, so you can face that outwards and still have it flat and work fine. So it still bolts on fine. Brake line goes up. And then on my green Jeep, I never cut this tab off. I don't have a zip tie to anything. It's done fine for about 5 years. Just coil it around. Yeah, that seems like a steep bend, but it's the same way on my green Jeep. And then just bend this out where it's basically straight up. If you can even see that, that's the brake line. Just bend it and then tighten it up, and then you might have to massage it a little bit to get it the way you want it. But I've had it like this on my green Jeep and never had a problem with it. Yeah, it's kind of a sharp corner, a sharp U-shaped. Well, it's a lot more than having too much. See here are the brake lines on my green Jeep. And actually it mounts all the same way. This caliper is slightly different. I do not think they're interchangeable, but the way the casting is down here is different. The brake line mounts slightly different, but the brake line is interchangeable between the two. If you look at the way that was designed, the KJ brakes doesn't have that up here, it has it down here. But you can see how angled my brake line is, and it's been like that for a while. So yeah. You can also see I have a better brake line routing, which I will do to the other one. I just need to get the axle in. But yeah, it's been like that for years, never had a problem. That's what I did to my e-brake. I drilled two holes in that bracket, or one hole in that bracket, slid the line through, cut part of the spring, and there's the nub in the front right there. It's sticking out. It's sticking out right there. There's a nub. I had that sticking to the end, had the U-bolt in there and tight, then the spring past the U-bolt, and then the line just goes out to the hard bracket right there. But yeah, I don't have any problems with this, but I do like having the actual bracket that it calls for. But yeah, that's pretty much how you put the brakes on. But yeah, that's how I put that on. Yeah, there's a bit of a sharp bend right here, but that hasn't affected my green Jeep any. I've had it like that for about 5 years or so. But I know some people that route it around the front, they either redo this line where it comes around the front and have it go over here. But like I said, I've never had an issue with this. But yeah, and then just your standard procedure for bleeding your brakes and everything like that. It'd be a good idea to let these gravity feed, open the bleeder valves and just let everything gravity feed till they start coming out. That way you don't have to pump as much. But the Ebrake cable, I'll show you how I have it on my green Jeep, but this is as simple as how you do a normal Ebrake cable. But I'm not going to show you because every Jeep's different. You got the 97 split, you got the old body style and the new body style, first gen, second gen. They connect differently, so I'm not going to go into all that. You can read that up online on how you just standardly replace a cable to get that done. It's like any Ebrake cable, really. At least on older stuff, there's a nub on the end of it that's in a slip connection where you'd have to loosen it up enough to get it out of the slip connection. But other than that, it's fairly easy. But yeah, that's it. That's how you do the ZJ or KJ disc brake swap. So this is I just used KJ stuff on mine, but it's the same way for both of them. Everything's practically the same. It's just on the Grand Cherokee you have to hollow out the backing plate to fit over the bigger 8.25 axle shaft. But yeah, that's it. And I'll talk to you later.